Hello everyone. Today, I'll use a few simple materials to make a tool for assisting with lock inspection and repair. Here I have several rivets, and I'll select 2 of them to form the main structure of the tool. Next, I'll use a short piece of stainless steel tubing as an outer protective layer. First, I measure approximately 3 centimeters and mark the cutting point with a marker. Stainless steel conducts heat less effectively than many other metals, so the tubing can help reduce direct heat transfer to the outside during the fabrication process. Then, I cut the stainless steel tubing into 2 short sections of the appropriate length. Next, I attach each section of stainless steel tubing to one of the metal rivets. I use a rivet gun to secure the tubing to the rivets, creating a sturdy frame for the next steps of the assembly. Every like and subscription motivates me to create more creative DIY projects. Thank you so much for your support. Next, I'll reinforce the 2 rivets by gently hammering them to flatten and shape the metal shaft. This helps adjust the shape of the metal rod, creating an end of a more suitable size for insertion into the door keyhole. I repeat the same process with the other rivet so that both components have a similar shape. In the next step, I use a heat gun to heat the metal section. Thanks to the stainless steel covering, I can handle the tubing during the heating process without directly touching the heated metal. Then I use pliers to bend the metal section into a right angle. This step helps shape the door unlocking pull pin component. After bending the metal, I spray water onto the component to cool it down and bring its temperature back to a safer level before continuing with the next step. The lock opening tool is now complete. I will proceed to test it in a real-world scenario. As you can see, the door is locked. I have tried turning the handle multiple times, but it won't open. Next, I insert the 2 rivets into the lock mechanism and operate the tool with a steady hand. After a few moments, the lock makes a click sound and the door unlocks. This shows that the method worked effectively and my homemade tool was able to unlock it. Here I have an old padlock that has lost its key, and instead of buying a completely new lock to replace it, I'll repurpose a large battery to make a tool to assist with inspecting, disassembling, and maintaining the lock. This idea allows me to reuse materials I already have while creating a simple tool for repair work and handling similar situations in practice. First, I use pliers to remove the outer casing of the battery. I carefully separate each section of the metal casing to recover the material that can be reused. Next, I use a pair of scissors to remove the excess metal around the edge of the casing. This helps eliminate the unnecessary parts and creates a cleaner, more compact piece of metal. Next, I used a pen to draw an uppercase T shape onto the piece of metal. Then, I used a cutting tool to follow the marked lines and create the desired shape. In the following step, I bent the metal around a cylindrical drill bit to achieve a uniform curve. This method gave the metal a neat shape that better suited the lock's design. After that, I trimmed and smoothed the remaining sharp edges to minimize the risk of scratches or injury during handling and testing. Now I'm going to test the tool on the lock to evaluate its sturdiness and functionality. I inserted the tool into the lock mechanism and used pliers to manipulate it gently, observing the movement of the internal parts. Look, the lock opened in just a few seconds. This result shows that my homemade tool works. To be certain, I will lock it again and run the test one more time. So, an old battery has been repurposed into a simple tool for assisting with lock opening. It's a pretty interesting idea that shows how, with a little creativity, materials that might otherwise be thrown away can be turned into useful tools. If you found this tip interesting, don't forget to follow for more simple and creative DIY ideas.